after all.
Hey everybody, it's commentary time. Hey, I first of all want to thank Caladran for this wonderful submission. This mission, of course, is to eliminate Fjola. Fjola is a bandit leader at Mistwatch Keep. And of course, as part of this, I had free reign to eliminate her minions as well. And that's where a lot of the fun came in. But of course, one of the main stipulations of this contract was that I had to eliminate Fjola first, which means that I had to do this kind of in the reverse order that is typical for Mistwatch. So, the SHADEling here is starting from above the camp. So this is where I would start in a lot of cases, even with other characters. I like fighting from the top down. So at this stage, what I'm doing is I'm going to make my way down to the top of the fortress. I need to access the uppermost tower of the fort. That's where Fjola is. So I'm going to use the blink spell. Again, this is from a mod called the Psijic Teleport Spells. You can find the official title in the description below if you want to check that out. It's not hard to find. Simply go out and Google it. You'll find it. It provides a number of different types of teleportation. The only one that I use is Blink. At least that's all I've used so far. Now, at this point, I'm switching to Drop Zone, which is a great spell from Apocalypse Spell Package. It is in the Alteration tree. There we go. It just creates a cushioned area where I can drop into and not take any damage. Okay, at this point, I'm about ready to eliminate the target already. So the key here was finding a really kind of fun, interesting way to get rid of this character. Remember, the SHADEling, one of the mottos of the SHADEling here is he is trying to create for each target a beautiful death. So we're looking for variety. So here I'm putting down an acceleration rune right into the corner. Now Fjola, if you're not familiar, she is literally right around the corner from us. That's why I'm using invisibility, because normally I would be visible to her right now. So now I'm standing on top of the acceleration rune and dual casting a frost rune on the ceiling. So that's going to be an extremely powerful and devastating rune. Now setting myself up with Ghost Walk to have a good viewing angle, and I'm entering the room to find Fjola, and there she is right there. Now at this point, from Ghost Walk, I'm going to hit her with Mind Control. Okay, and again, that basically puts her in my faction. Now I'm going to run her onto the acceleration rune and then deactivate Mind Control by hitting the Sheath button, which projects her up and into the rune, dead, broken neck. It's all over. And that wraps up the actual target. Now the cool thing is, of course, that we've got all the rest of Fjola's goons to deal with. And this location in particular, there's quite a few actually around Skyrim, but this is one that I consider to be really a playground for the assassin, especially this type of assassin. So a lot of enemies spread out at different levels. One of the things that I've discovered about the SHADEling and the way that I play him and my spell selection is that it affords an opportunity for a lot of verticality, a lot of verticality in the way that you deal damage, traverse the environment, the way that you operate. I really like it. There's a lot of things that most characters have to pay attention to that you could ignore, like stairways and ladders and ramps and things like that, which makes it a lot of fun. Okay, now I'm just blinking down here and I'm trying to set myself up to start an attack. We're going to start by scoping things out a little bit. Now I'm going with Ghost Walk to make sure that I'm invisible as I look over the edge. I don't want to be spotted at this point. We can see that there's a sentry walking the wall across from us. We're going to put down a little surprise for him. On the last episode, we learned that we could project that acceleration rune quite a long ways. So I set up a surprise for him. Now I have also dual cast a frost rune at my feet, and you can see directly below us there's a bad guy. So my objective is to take the one on the wall first with the acceleration rune, which will launch him quite a long ways, killing him. All right. Now I'm going to Shadow Bond this guy. Takes me 2 tries to get him. Okay, he's Shadow Bonded. Now in the left hand, I'm hitting Ghost Walk. Now I'm activating Shadow Bond. Bam. It drops him on the rune, and then the Ghost Walk pulls me back up to the top of the tower. What that does is it keeps me out of harm's way. It keeps me from being in a situation where the Shadow Bond would leave me down in the center of the courtyard and subject to, probably arrow shots from those remaining bandits who are on the walls. So now I'm blinking to the opposite tower, changing position. What I kind of discovered here from this tower is I was hoping this tower would give me some better views of what was going on, but it really didn't. I was able to use this position to put a frost rune down in the center of the courtyard, which I'm actually not using immediately. I'm going to use it later. So that was actually pretty handy. But beyond that, I had to change position from this spot because it just wasn't ideal. I couldn't see the targets that I wanted to deal with. All right. At this point, I've got 2 enemies left, and I'm kind of mulling over how I'm going to deal with them. So I'm going to just kind of blink over to the cliff face across from me. All right. So, as I said, 2 enemies. One here. You can see her. She's guarding one gate, and the other one that's remaining is guarding the opposite gate. So the 2 enemies I have to deal with are on absolute opposite sides of the fortress at this point. Now, of course, once we eliminate the bandits on the outside, we've got a whole fort that's filled with them as well. We're going to have to deal with the ones on the inside. Ah, there we go. Okay, so now we've got a frost rune down in the courtyard, and part of the reason that I'm doing that is because I'm putting something in the path. If our attack on this bandit attracts the attention of the one on the opposite side, right, there's a good chance that he'll just run across our trap and that'll kill him. If not, we may be able to use that later. That was kind of the plan. Okay, so right now I'm putting down an acceleration rune, but now I got to act fast because what I don't want is I don't want her to be drawn by the sound and pulled into the frost or into the acceleration rune when she's coming down the stairs. So, at this point, I'm using mind control, and I'm just going to drop her off the side and run her to a location down in the courtyard, break the spell, which will cause her to walk back to her post. The whole reason that I did that little operation there is I want her, when she hits the acceleration rune, to be on an upward trajectory, just like that, because I want her to fly out of the fortress. She's more apt to take damage that way, and it also puts her outside the fortress where she's not an issue for us, and we can deal with the other person. All right? So there I tried to blink, but my blink was obstructed, so it didn't take me anywhere. So I had to try it again. We'll try it again. There we go. Now I'm where I need to be. So right in that entryway there, we've got a bad guy. And then right here at this entryway, this is where she's going to come back. So understanding if she's not dead, she's going to be walking back, we're placing a trap for her in that doorway. That way we don't get flanked. If she comes back to the fortress, if she survived that launching, if you will, we have a rune there to deal with her, and we'll also be alerted if something happens. All right, now I'm using Evil Twin. All right, Evil Twin is going to generate copies of this guy. As soon as one dies, another one's going to be generated, okay? And that's kind of how the spell works. Now, these copies are a lot less powerful than the original, but they keep coming as long as I can cast the spell, okay? All right. There we go. All right, now you heard just a minute ago our frost rune in the opposite doorway popped off. So that actually worked, and then we dispatch him with a frost rune. We can go back here and look. Yep, she survived it. She wandered back but hit our trap on the way in. And that takes care of all the ones on the outside. Now, you may have noticed that the spells I was using were actually draining my magicka, draining a magicka bar. This video was recorded before I switched to innate magic, and we'll talk about innate magic maybe a little later in another episode. There's a lot to unpack there, so I don't want to get into it now. But there are certain spells I can cast now. I don't use magicka in the traditional sense. I don't have a pool of magicka that I drain anymore. I have a set number of spells that I can cast, and then they recharge over a certain period of time. So usually it's 10 seconds per charge. and I can cast 4. So you'll see in future episodes where I'm spending a lot more time managing my spell casting to make sure that I'm recharging and doing all those kinds of things. So at this point, I went invisible, okay, and I wanted to get him aggressive. I wanted to get his aggression up to be in battle. That allows me to click on him and activate a power called Nemesis, which comes from the Ordinator perk overhaul. Nemesis creates a copy of him that he essentially has to battle until one of the two die. You can see the Nemesis actually killed him. That worked out pretty well. It only works, however, if you're in battle with the individual. So you have to find a way to get their aggro going. You gotta make them aggressive. Once they're in kind of that battle mindset, then you can activate Nemesis. Sometimes I can pull that off with some kind of a sneak attack. Sometimes I can pull it off with picking a pocket, which makes them aggressive, and then I can activate Nemesis, which works really well. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do that, but it's a little bit of a trick with that one, especially if your plan is to kind of use it from stealth, for example. Okay. So in this case, what I'm going to do is a simple displacement trick with a Frost Rune and Shadow Bond. Shadow Bond the enemy and drop her right into a Frost Rune at the feet. Bam. She's done. That takes care of that. Now we move on to the upper section of the fortress. Now here, in this instance, what we're going to be doing is dealing with a crowd. So we're going to have a group of 4 bandits that we've got to deal with all at one time. So SHADEling's opener, in this case, was Evil Twin. And I like Evil Twin with groups like this because it generates copies of everybody who's in range of the spell. So, as you can imagine, the room is going to get very crowded very quickly. But it also has the added effect of bunching up enemies, which I really like, so that when I cut the spell out, I can do area of effect attacks, and they're extremely devastating. So, we've got 2 enemies here. We're starting out with Evil Twin. Okay, there are 2 additional bandits who are further down the hallway who are going to be attracted by the sound of the fighting. And we want to get them all kind of bunched up together here. So you can see Evil Twin is just generating more and more copies. They keep coming, they keep dying, but they keep coming. Okay? Alright. Now we're starting to stack them up. Guys are going down. I go invisible. Okay, now we see the 2 remaining ones. They come flying in, and I'm switching now to Frost Nova from Stealth, Area of Effect Attack. It's a massive blast. It's probably the spell that I use that does the most damage instantly. More so even than I think my Frost Runes. And that wraps it up. So at the end there, Evil Twin pulls them into a cluster, and then I can detonate in the center of that cluster and polish them all off at once. It's great. I love the combination of the stealth, the quiet, silent, subtle tactics in combination with the fact that this character can unleash some absolutely devastating, explosive kinds of attacks, which is super fun. Hey, I want to thank everybody for watching these videos, for your submissions, and for your support. And I will see you next time.